Hey, if you are interested in using virtual background as a way to show your slides in Zoom rather than sharing your screen and having that kind of slide in your little video, then please watch this video and I'll see you back on the other side. Thanks. So when you are presenting using virtual background images, first you want to get yourself situated. So I've recorded this just using screen capture so that you can see what I see. So of course on the right, the big image you see is what students would see. And I'm not sharing my screen, so it's just this video image here, and they can make that larger so it fills their screen if they like. But I left this open here so that you could see. It's about 80 slides or so that I have. So you just make your slideshow in PowerPoint or Keynote and then save that as images, and then you can import the images into virtual background. You can also do video in there. Now, I can't because my computers are not strong enough or not robust enough to take video in a virtual background, but I think you could do that. And if there was some animation that you really needed back here, I think putting a video would work. In this case, I have an image back here. This whole thing is just an image, but it could be a video as well. So let's get started. How you advance slides, as I just did there, is you could use your keyboard or you could use a remote control, of course your mouse, but I want to get a little bit away from the computer. You want to make sure that you're situated, good, so get all comfortable and then try to look at the camera lens. That's very important. So I move my webcam off the computer and put it in between me and the slide so that for the most part, I can remember to look at the camera and not look at myself. What is it with that? Why are everyone it's always looking at themselves? All right, so picture in picture. Here's the story about what I found this year. So I'm teaching at Kansai Gaidai. I've been there since I left Apple in 2003. And one of the things I do is teach design courses and presentation courses there. And students, of course, learn the analog approach, which we apply to many different things, not just presentation, but all our presentations are done going analog first with paper and sticky notes and so on. And then later, finally, when they're ready, they present. But of course, this year, right in the middle of it, in February, the pandemic hit. And we actually, suddenly, classes were all online. But students still had to do their presentation. So this raised the question of how do you present when you can't be there? So as you know, PowerPoint has a capability where you can record your slides and you can also record yourself, a little video. So what happens is I got a lot of presentations, just simulating here, looking at my presentations that look something like this with a little video down below. But in cases where they did know how to design slides, there would be this little video of them talking and not even looking at the lens because of course they're looking at the slides. So this was not a really an engaging look. So this is sort of the way that a lot of people are designing their slides, and this orange here represents the video. So it's a presenter talking to you, usually looking down at their notes or at their screen and then going through some either bullet points or going through some other visuals. But they're quite small compared to the visual. So your brain is not really interested in this kind of thing. So it's much better to do something like this, where this orange represents, like I'm doing here, where the teacher, the instructor, or the presenter, whoever it is filling the screen, and then the visuals there are complementary and amplify what the speaker is talking about. And the brain is much more interested in this. The brain is interested in faces and in people and eyes and being connected and listening to you. So it's a presentation because we want to listen to the teacher and be engaged with the teacher and her words and her ideas. But of course the visuals are very important as well. They help. But just having the instructor or the presenter very tiny doesn't work. It's not very engaging at all. So we don't want to do this. Something like this where you might have really good visuals, but also a very small video capture of the presenter. Maybe it's a little bit better, but not much, because still the presenter is too small. A lot of different ways of doing something like this. I was in a conference recently that that put me like this. So it was my head about the same size as the slide. That's a little bit better, but I would prefer something like this, or you could even do something like this, or even just completely fill the screen. Of course, you have to design your slides so that you leave about a third or so empty, so that you as the presenter can get in there comfortably. So why this works is because it's very familiar to us. It's not a new idea at all. It's a very old idea, in fact. Since the 50s, when broadcast news, in those days, I mean, it was broadcast news, what, ABC, NBC, and CBS when I was growing up as a kid. Of course, before the news, there was something called newsreels, which also, of course, were a completely visual thing. These were shown before movies started, before TV came around in the 50s. These were very popular, and it was a way for people to get information. And of course, it was a visual thing. And then, when I was growing up as a kid, of course, we're very used to watching TV, a presenter with visuals, presenters with visuals. They would, TV when I was a kid was often black and white, but of course they had a green screen and they would project visuals there behind them, right? Something like this. So this was a very common thing, and we still see it today, and we are used to seeing this. So I think what is good to do, and I had my students do this last semester, was to create presentation videos. And so one of the really basic things they can do, just use their iPhone, at least, or smartphone. What they do is they, of course, prepare their presentation, their ideas as they normally would, as if they were going to do it live. And then they can do the slides. That's the big, the part in the middle with their narration. But then they can also film themselves on their camera phone, their smartphone, at least for the introduction and for the ending. So this worked really well. Of course, it's easy to go into something like iMovie or any kind of other software and then do this picture-in-picture kind of effect. It's very straightforward. Students had no problem doing this, and so this would be the end result, where students are much larger image inside the video, and then they can connect with their audience, which is me and other students, and then their visuals are there to complement them and to also keep them on track as well. So we don't want to do something like this. So what about live presentations? I mean, my thing is I really want to get better at making production for recorded presentations, but we still need to do live presentations. What should we do about that to get this kind of picture-in-picture effect, something similar to what's going on here? And I'm here in Zoom in this case. Some of the software that I really like is Ecamm and OBS Studio. I think are outstanding for doing broadcast stuff. And the new one that I'm really excited about, which has a weird name, and it's not MMHMM, but it's called and right now it's beta and invitation only, but I think if you go to their website and ask for an invitation, you can get one. And I think this is awesome because it's simpler, but I think they really get it, that we want to have this good, robust picture-in-picture effect. I think it might be a little bit Apple-like in that it won't have a lot of bells and whistles like OBS has, but it'll keep it really simple. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. But right now I'm kind of messing around with it, and it seems to be very promising. But in terms of Zoom, a new feature did come out. But even if you didn't have the latest version, you could use the virtual background. But what a lot of people do, of course, is they still do something like this, and that's not what we want to do. So how can we increase engagement using Zoom? So as you have been seeing, and you can see over there, virtual backgrounds as slides, you can do that, and that's what I'm doing right now. And then these are just sample slides. So that you can see I could do a presentation like this, just going through the sample slides here. So it does work. Imagine, especially for short presentations that you had to do, it's very easy to do something like this. So you can have, images like this behind you. I kind of like to make it like the old network news style, so there's already a simulated screen there. Or you can just do something like this. You can also fill the screen with your slide, but you just have to keep a third or so empty. So here I'm talking about the book, for example, or this is actually a spread in my new book that I'm showing. I can talk about and point to things like that. Here I'm talking about forest bathing, so get out into nature as I'm talking about different things related to creativity and nature and going analog and things like that. So okay, so that's a virtual, just using the old, virtual background. But there's a new feature in Zoom for sharing slides, which is called Slides as Virtual Background. And how you get to that is you have to go here. You don't go into the virtual background, but you actually go into what's called share screen, and then you'll get a window like this, and you click on that blue part on the left, which is beta right now, and then you can go in and go through your Keynote or your PowerPoint slides. And it won't show animation, it won't show video at this point, so it's not so different than just using virtual background. But the great thing is, the difference is you don't have to export them as images. You just have to design them so that they will, fill the screen. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was at least a little bit useful. At least for the time being, you can use Zoom to present yourself or present your slides and yourself through virtual background. It really does work. So give it a shot. If you have a good example of it, please send me the link. I'm happy to look at your video and your presentation as well. All right, for the time being, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.